Okay, we are continuing over here in the Yud Gimel Ikrim, which means the 13 Ikr fundamentals and the principles of faith. We started the week before with the introduction to why it is that these 13 principles are so intrinsic to our existence. And the bottom line is as the Rambam himself writes, these are the 13 ideas and the principles and fundamentals that a person must have in their life to guarantee them a connection to the Ribbono Shel Olam. And once that you have a connection to Hashem, so then you have a connection to His Torah. When you have a connection to His Torah, you have a connection to His whole world, the way that He runs it, as we're going to see. And then that, as the Rambam is basing all of his comments on, is Kol Yisrael Yeshnam Chelik L'Olam Haba. Every single one of us has a portion to the world to come. And the way in which we're going to derive and to gain this portion for ourselves in the world to come is if we are steadfastly following these 13 principles of faith, which are the essence really of who we are as a nation. So we're going to go today to the first of the 13 principles of faith. And if you turn in your siddur to page 178 and 179 in the art scroll, you will find outlined the words of the Rambam. And he writes the following. Now I just want to give one bit of a introduction to these words in the siddur. The words that we have in the siddur, in the prayer book, are not exactly the words of the Rambam. Meaning the Rambam was much lengthier in how he describes each one of these 13 principles of faith. And in the siddur they compiled them in short and succinct sentences that we should be able to pull out the main ideas that are there. So the main ideas are what it says, and the Rambam, as we said, is much more verbose. He goes to great length to explain more what he's talking about, and we'll utilize the Rambam and the Mefarshim and the commentators that we are going through to explain the words that we have written in the siddur. And it says like this: Ani ma'amin be'emunah shalema. So the first premise that the Rambam is laying down over here is that when we say that we believe, and we'll have to speak more today about what emunah, what belief is, but when we say the words Ani ma'amin, I believe, the goal that we are striving for is not just I believe. Sure, you believe in a God? Yeah, of course I believe in God. The belief is Ani ma'amin be'emunah shalema. I believe in complete faith. Emunah shalema, complete and total faith. What I'm about to say right now in these words. And remember, as we mentioned, I believe in the last class, that the way in which a person speaks about themselves and the way in which they speak about their beliefs, those words become their reality. And therefore, our sages have told us, and we quoted from the Chavetz Chaim last time, that it's almost incumbent, especially in our generation, when we look at the news and we hear what's going on in the world, and there are so many things that make no sense to a person, so many things that are tragic to Klal Yisrael, so many things that are very, very difficult for a person to understand, we need to strengthen ourselves in the areas of emunah shlema, of complete faith in what we believe in, so that we should know how we can maneuver ourselves through the pitfalls and the challenges and the struggles that we have in our personal lives, in the lives of our families, in the lives of our communities, and right now, as we see in the world, in the lives of all of Klal Yisrael. So, Ani ma'amin, I believe. When we say the words, we have to know what we're saying. Ani ma'amin, I believe. And it's okay to be a believer. We live in a world full of atheists, agnostics, people that are challenging HaKadosh Baruch Hu, challenging basic fundamentals of belief. But we are the nation of Ma'aminim b'nei Ma'aminim. We are the believers who are the children of believers, and we go all the way back, beyond even Har Sinai. We go all the way back to Avram Avinu in the beginning of his life, when he began his quest and his search for Hashem, and he found Him, as we'll speak about today. And therefore, Ani ma'amin, I believe, be'emunah shalema, with complete faith, not just a little bit of emunah, not just an idea of what Emunah, what it means to believe in Hashem, not because I read something in a book or I heard an inspiring story that made me feel good about today, or this moment believing in Hashem. Emunah Shleima Shali means complete. That means that in every minute of every single day, of every moment of my life, Ani ma'amin be'emunah shleima, I'm believing completely in what I'm attesting to over here. Because if a person wavers in their emunah, they waver in their faith, they're missing parts of their faith throughout the day. So then when those challenges come, and I don't have emunah shalema, my faith is not complete. My belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as what we're going to discuss in these 13 principles, is not complete, then I'm going to get weakened somewhere along the way. Maybe in the good times I'll be able to recognize that it's Hashem, but maybe in the challenges of the everyday I will lose myself and weaken in my adherence or my faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, ani ma'amin be'emunah shalema, I believe be'emunah shalema, with complete and total faith. And again, total means it is complete, it is absolute, it is all of the time. Yes, a person will have questions, and yes, a person will have struggles, and yes, there will be things that take place in our lives that are hard for us to understand. All of that is true. But even when there are things that are going on in our life or in the world that are hard for a person to understand, it doesn't mean that you cannot have emunah shlema, complete faith. And we will have to speak about, as we go through this, what does it mean to have emunah? What does it mean to believe in Hashem? What does it mean to believe in all these 13 aspects and attributes and fundamentals and principles of Hashem and how He runs the world and what it means to be a Jew? What does that mean? Now, how could it be that a person is not always flowing with their great committed faith and belief in Hashem, and yet they can still wake up in the morning when they're half asleep and say, Ani ma'amin be'emunah shalema, I believe with complete faith. And perhaps if we find ourselves understanding more what this word emunah, what it means to believe in Hashem is, then even when we are in those times of our life where our emunah, where our faith is being challenged, we will be able to say confidently, Ani ma'amin be'emunah shalema, I believe with complete and total faith in X, Y, and Z, what we are going to be learning about. And again, the more that a person says it, and the more that a person learns it, and the more that a person, he imbibes these words of emunah, of what it means to believe in Hashem, so the more that we are going to be living be'emunah. As we said, the pasuk says, Tzadik be'emunasa yichya, a righteous person lives be'emunasa, in their emunah. Each person has their own world of emunah, of faith with Hashem. That's why it doesn't say Tzadik be'emunah yichya, a tzaddik lives with emunah, in faith. It says a tzaddik lives be'emunasai, in his emunah. Because everybody's world with Hashem is private, and it's different, and it's unique. And what you go through in your life, the highs and the lows and everything in between, that is your olam, that is your world with Hashem. And therefore your emunah is a separate emunah than anybody else can have. There's basics, there's fundamentals. As we see, these are the building blocks that we're going to have. But everyone, based on their neshama, based on their experiences in life, based on how they were raised, based on what they're going through, based on the challenges, based on the brachas, based on the strengths, the weaknesses, and everything, everyone is going to have their own special world of emunah with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we start off, Ani ma'amin, I believe, be'emunah shalema, with complete faith. I was yesterday by the Siyum HaShas in New York. Because imagine 90 to 100,000 Jews that are all in one area together. At the very end of the Siyum, after Baruch Hashem, many hours of inspiring speeches and videos and dancing and singing, they ended off with a tribute to the Kedoshim, to those who perished in the Holocaust. And they sang, before they got to the Kel Mole, which was by Chazan Helfgott, which was something I never heard in my entire life before, They sang the song Ani Ma'amin that you have at the very end of the Yud Gimel Midas of Ani Ma'amin Be'emunah Shleima, where we're waiting for the coming of Mashiach. Afal pi sheyismameh, even though that he delays, achak eloi, nevertheless I continue to wait for him. And here we are, and this was sung about the people that perished, the 6 million Jews that perished in the Holocaust. And here we are 75 years later, and we're sitting with 100,000 Jews celebrating the 13th, if I'm not mistaken, 13th cycle of the Daf Yomi, which has been completed over the last 70 some odd years. We are talking about survivors who are sitting there and with their children and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren. And the whole stadium was filled with so many different stripes and colors of Jews from the entire spectrum of Klal Yisrael. So if a person is ani ma'amin be'emunah shalema, they believe with complete faith, so then we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He's there every step of the way. Just like He was there with us yesterday in the stadium with 100,000 Jews standing around together, everybody swaying and singing together and crying tears. He was with Klal Yisrael in every single situation that we find ourselves in throughout history. He was in Auschwitz, He was in Bergen-Belsen, He was in the cattle cars, He was by the Inquisition, He was by the pogroms, He was by the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. He's everywhere. Ani ma'amin be'emunah shalema. That's what we're saying over here. It's not just, I believe. Of course you believe. Everybody believes in Hashem. Everybody has a natural tendency, as we're going to learn, to believe in the Ribbono Shel Olam. But my emunah is shalema. It is complete. And when it's complete, that means it takes everything in. And in every step that I take in my life, I understand and I try my best to see. Even if I don't always see it, but I try my best. The emunah shlema, complete faith, to understand it's all the Ribbono Shel Olam, as we're going to speak about. Shahabari Yizbarach Shemai, that the Creator, Yizbarach Shemai, blessed be His name, Hu Boirei Umanhig L'chol Abruim, He is the Creator and the Manig, and He is guiding and directing L'chol Habruim, to every created thing that there is in this world. The source behind everything, says the Rambam, the source behind the creation and the created world and everything that is going on all of the time is Habarei Yizbarach Shemai, is the Creator, blessed be He. V'hu levadai asa, and Hashem alone, only Hashem, asa, He made, v'oiseh, and He will make and do, v'ya'aseh l'chol ha'ma'asim, and He will continue to do l'chol ha'ma'asim, to all of His creations, to all of the handiwork that He has in this world. Basic Emunah 101, or in our generation 2.0, as they say, is you must believe that there is a Creator, and this Creator that we call HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, created everything in the world, and He continues to guide everything in the world as we speak. And He alone, no, He doesn't need any help, He doesn't need assistance, He doesn't need a maid, He doesn't need anything. Hu levadai, He alone made the world. V'hu levadai oiseh, He continues to run the world. V'yaseh, and Hu alone, He Himself, will be the only one that continually will run the world in the perfection, the way that it is. And this is the haskalah, this is the introduction to our world of Emunah over here. That our first and primary belief is there is a Ribbono Shel Olam, there is a Creator in this world. And that this Creator made the world and runs the world, and He never stopped and He never will stop, and nobody can help Him because He doesn't need anybody's help. And nobody else is involved because Hashem is the only one that is in charge of making the world the way that it is. So I'm using two svarim primarily over here as we go through this. I'll bring in from other places as well, but the two svarim that I'm primarily using, one is called Yud Gimel Ikrim La Rambam, the 13 Principles of Faith by the Rambam, which is the Rambam's words as explained by Rabbi Zion Epstein from Eretz Yisrael. And the other one is a book in English. If you can find it, it's worthwhile to buy for yourself. I saw that It's very hard to find in print. If you do find it, it's about selling for $100 when it was probably listed as $15 or $20 when it was originally printed. It's called Fundamentals and Faith, which is the teachings of Rav Yaakov Weinberg Zatzal, who was the Rosh Hashiva, my Rosh Hashiva in Ner Yisrael. One of his major contributions to Klal Yisrael was his expertise in the words of the Rambam. And he went through all the Rambam's writings. And one of them that he spent a lot of time clarifying for us in English language that we should be able to understand is what it means to believe in Hashem. So I'm using these two works primarily, as I said, Be'ez Hashem will bring in from other svarim, other texts, and other commentaries and commentators as well. But these are going to be the two books that we're using to guide us through. So in the Yud Gimel Ikrim by Rabbi Zion Epstein, he writes over here the following. And that is that in the beginning, the Rambam is pointing out, and that's what the Rambam writes in his own words, Lahamin mitzius habar yisbach. There is an obligation that a person has to believe in the mitzius, in the essence, the reality of habar yisbach, of the Holy One, blessed be He. Our starting point of Emunah is, what are you believing in? So, step number one is, there's an obligation for a person, lahamin, to believe in the reality of the Creator of this world. That's where we start. If we don't start there, where are we going to go with everything we're talking about? Starting point is, what are we believing in? Point number one is, we believe b'mitzius habari yisbarach. We believe in the existence, in the essence, in the reality of Hashem. And he writes like this. The simple, what we call a muskal rishon. Muskal rishon means on first glance. You know, like when you take a test and your gut answer, and then you're sitting there, you're looking at it for 20 minutes. Maybe it's C, maybe it's not. Then you finally at the end you switch to C and you got it wrong. You fail the test. You know how it works. One of my kids just took their what do you call it? No, not their SAT. No, for the driving, to get a permit. Okay, they just tried the written exam, and they were going through, they get to the last question. The last question. He knew the answer, and he put the right answer first. But before he hands in the test, he's just looking at that right answer. Maybe it's really the other one. He looks back and forth, 5-10 minutes. He says, you know what, I think it's the other one. He puts the other one, he got that one wrong, and then he didn't pass the test. Muskal rishon, what is the gut reaction that a person has? The first feeling that you have when you look at the question on the test, you know what the right answer is. When you find yourself in certain situations, you immediately know what the reaction is, how you should proceed, how you should deal with the situation. Only when we start getting hazy and we start doubting ourselves and second-guessing ourselves, then we start making mistakes. The muskal rishon, he writes, the first reaction, the gut reaction, the natural inherent feeling and understanding which exists inside each and every one of us is that it's impossible for there to be a world without a borei, without a creator and a manig and someone that is running it. Impossible. It's natural. The world is too complex. The world is too detailed. The world is too perfect in the way that it runs. There's so many things that are going on all the time. Muskal rishon, the gut reaction of any person. Again, if they haven't been destroyed and tainted too much by society, the gut reaction of the average person is, I believe that there's a God. I believe there's a God. Now, what does that belief mean? Who is God? What is He? What does He represent? What does He stand for? What does He do in this world? I don't know that. I don't know all the details. But when I look at the world, it's natural, he writes, and Rav Dessler echoes these words, and he also explains that one of the most natural functions of humanity is belief in Hashem. And we can understand this very easily, because we know that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created man, He blew life into mankind. And what did He blow? He blew in a nefesh chaya, a living soul. And where did that living soul come from? So the Torah says it came from Hashem. That means that there is a piece of God inside each and every one of us. If you have a piece of Hashem inside of you, So you know then who you are. You know where you come from. You know what the ultimate existence in this world is. And that is Rebbeinu Shalom, that's the master of the universe. So it's natural, just like a child looks towards their parents, it's natural that a child looks for their parents. It's natural that when a child wakes up in the middle of the night and they are scared, they run to their mother's bed because they know the mother is their mother. It's natural that when the father walks in the room, so the kids go, Tati, Tati, they get so excited because they recognize their father. It's natural for a person who is a Tselem Elokim, who is a creation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but we are created in His image because a piece of Hashem is inside of us. It is natural to know that there's God in this world. Muskal Rishon, the simplest level of faith is that it's natural for a person to believe in Hashem. And where do we see this from? The very famous Midrash. The Midrash says that when Avraham Avinu was going on his path, remember, Avraham Avinu Abraham lived in a time, the entire world had forgotten that there is a being called Hashem. When the world was created, everybody knew there was God. It went on through the generations, little by little, and then rapidly got out of control. They started worshiping idols and stars and suns and moon and themselves, all different things, and they forgot about Hashem. And His name was forgotten from the world completely. Avraham Avinu was a young boy, 3 years old. And he's looking around the world and he says, wait a second, my muskal rishon, my natural inclination is there must be a creator in this world. So why is everybody saying that there's no such thing as a God? Why is everybody bowing down to idols that they made with their own hands 5 minutes ago? Why are they drawing graven images on the walls of their temples and their homes and the mountains and the trees and bowing down to them and think that's where the rain's going to come from? Why are they doing that? A gut reaction, natural inclination is, look at this world. How could you say there's not a God? How could you say there's not a creator? Look how fantastic, magnificent this world is. So the Midrash says, Mashal, la'echad shaya oiver mimakom lamakom. There's a parable of a traveler who was going from place to place. V'ra bira achas de'lechas, and he saw a building that was on fire. V'toimar, and he said, Toimar shabir zois b'leimanik, is it possible the owner's not around? Does this building have nobody that's watching over it? Doesn't he know that his building is going up in flames? Heitzitz alav balabir v'omar, until finally the owner of that building sticks his head out of the window and he says, Ani hu balabir, I am the owner of this palace, I'm the owner of this building over here. Don't worry, there is a builder. Said Avraham Avinu, he's looking in the world and he's watching the world. It's spinning out of control right now. And people are doing the most atrocious of things that we could imagine. And nobody believes in Hashem. So Avraham Avinu said, is it possible that a world that's made with such symmetry, such perfection, such magnificence, such splendor, such glory, everything just fits in exactly like a puzzle? Is it possible that there's no Balabir, there's no creator that's here in this world? And Avraham Avinu spent 37 years of his life looking for the Baal Habir, for the creator of this world, for the owner of this palace, of this building. Until finally, after 37 years, Hashem popped his head out and said, here I am. You looked for me, you worked hard, you tried, you made effort, now you found me. And this is another major thing that we have to understand. Everybody struggles with Emunah. Everybody struggles with Emunah. Everybody has moments where they feel so close to Hashem, and everybody has moments where they feel so far away from Hashem. Everybody has moments where they say, yes, Hashem, thank you for everything you do for me. And then they have, why Hashem? Why did you do this to me? Everybody has that. A person has to realize that it took Avraham Avinu 37 years of his life, but where he was working every single day, night and day and night, constantly trying to find the mitzius, the essence and the existence and the reality of Hashem. After 37 years of that quest, of that search that he was on with true motives of trying to find the truth in the simplest, most beautiful way, he came to the prophecy that he had where Hashem revealed himself. So a person struggles with their Emunah, and they have a bad Emunah day, a bad day of faith. Oh, okay, fine. That knocks me off my kilter, as they say. Did you spend 37 years Do you think every day for Avraham Avinu was easy to go through? Do you think every day was like, wow, Hashem, you're so amazing? He didn't have children. His wife was abducted. He's struggling around. He's going from place to place. He's fighting against his father, against Nimrod, the evil king over there. He's got people speaking Lashon Hara about him day and night, saying, "Oh, Terach, what happened to your son over here? Nebuch, this poor guy. He's going off the derech into a world of Hashem. What's he doing over there?" You know what Avraham Avinu went through? And how difficult it was to live in those days. They didn't have the amenities that we have. Running water, heat when it's cold, air conditioning when it's hot, food in a refrigerator and a freezer. They didn't have any of this. It was a hard life. It was a very hard life. Every day was, Avraham was like, wow, God, you're amazing. No, every day was, I want to understand who is the creator of this world. And once that I get there, I'll begin to understand what the purpose of my life is all about. So Avraham Avinu, he looked. But he didn't just look and find. It wasn't automatic. It took him 37 years, and we can't imagine the gigantic neshama, the soul that Avraham Avinu had. He spent 37 years searching and looking. There was one of the videos that they showed yesterday by the Siyam Hashas. They had this Holocaust survivor who was interviewed, and with a big, the man must be like in his 90s. He should live and be well to 120. He said over in this video with such a smile on his face, he said, when I see all of you sitting here by the Siyam Hashas, 100,000 Yidden Jews that are all together to celebrate the completion of the entire Shas, the entirety of the Torah, Shabbal Peh, the oral Torah, you don't know how happy I am. I know what it was like to see the destruction of the Jewish people, and today I'm seeing the revival and the rebirth and the reborning of the Jewish people. This is something amazing. It took 75 years to see that. When they were there in the concentration camps and Mengele Yamach Shemai V'Zichro was killing people left and right, and Hitler was with all of his craziness. What did they see? Where did they see Hashem? But they went Emunah Shleima, they went with complete faith, and they understood, just like when they were in the shul on Rosh Hashanah that year, and they were surrounded by their fathers and their mothers and their brothers and their sisters, and everything was amazing, and that was Hashem. They understood that Hashem has a plan, and there's a plan there as well. But 75 years later, takes time to see it sometimes, 75 years later, you can see that HaKadosh Baruch has an ultimate plan. Avraham Avinu, what? It takes sometimes 75 years to recognize that Hashem has an ultimate plan. And Avraham Avinu teaches us this. It doesn't say that he got in like an injection, that in one day he walks out of the house of his father and he says, I believe. It's not like that. That's a farce. That's not how Emunah works. Emunah is something that is cultivated over years and years and years and years of looking and searching and working and learning and understanding what it means to believe in Hashem. And therefore, Avraham Avinu, when he found HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have to keep in our minds that it took him time. And therefore, we're going to be going through these Yud Gimel Ikrim over these 13 principles of faith. It will take us time to absorb and to understand and to believe Emunah Shleim, as we're saying. So he writes over here, the Emunah of Avraham Avinu was his heart was churning all the time inside of him. He was searching and looking and trying hard to understand until he reached the way of truth. Avraham Avinu was a very truthful person. He was searching for the truth. And he knew that somewhere behind the veil and the mask of this world, the emes, the truth, is waiting for him. So what did he do? He kept going. He kept going and going and going until he reached it. And he quotes over here from the Chovos Levavos, the duties of our heart, a very famous work that we have. In my own flesh, I'm able to see God. The wondrous wisdom in the creation of this world, and in the formation and the creation of mankind. That itself is enough for a person to begin to believe in Hashem. I bought a book for my children over Hanukkah. They started putting out children's books with the messages and the teachings of Rabbi Avigdor Miller Zatzal. It's worthwhile for an adult to read. I bought the book really for myself. I knew I'd have to read it for my kids, so I wanted to see what he said. He speaks over there about the miracle of rain. And Rabbi Dovid, besides all of his wisdom and his knowledge of Torah, he was very astute in science. And he knew the way that the world, geology, the way that the world is running. And he shows the magnificent miracle of how rain works. You go buy the book yourself and you read it. I'm not going to go through it in the class. It's called a drop of rain, something like that. A drop of rain, so I'll have to get you the exact title. Anyway, it's fascinating how HaKadosh Baruch Hu designed this world in such a way. He took care of everything. It's impossible when a person begins looking at it, it's impossible to believe that such a complicated economic, if that's the word, such a geological system could just have happened by itself. You should see the mastery, the computerization of everything, every little detail that Hashem has to make everything work exactly the way that it does. Says the Chovos Levavos, and the Chazon Ish echoes these words as well, that really I just have to look at myself. I just have to look at the world. If I look at myself, my own flesh, if I look at the world, does it ever amaze a person that you get a cut and your skin just heals itself? It just grows, and there's no scar. You're back to where you were before. There's not a cartoon. You know the cartoon, they bang the guy in the head with the hammer, and he pops back up and he's fine. This is not a cartoon. This is real life over here. You get a cut, and you put a little ointment, and before you know it, the whole thing is better, and there's no scar. This is all in your own flesh, says the Chovos Levavos. You can begin to see Hashem. Now, that being said, when mitzvah rishonim v'sefer mitzvahs nimne, when the Rambam writes, now the Rambam has something called Sefer HaMitzvahs, which is the book of commandments. And the Rambam goes through the entirety of the Torah, and he writes down his list of the 613 commandments that we are obligated to keep. So he writes over there, the first mitzvah is Laha'amin sheyesh sham eleka. Shem eleka. That we are obligated to believe that there is a God in this world. That's mitzvah number one. Remember, you got to know where you're starting. If a person doesn't have Emunah, they don't have belief in God, everything else in the Torah begins falling apart, as we're going to see from the words of Weinberg Zatzal. If you don't have basic fundamental belief in Hashem, everything else in all of the Torah begins to be meaningless and will not resonate truly with you. So the Rambam writes, number one, Lahamin Shem Eloka, a person has to believe that there is Eloka, there is a God. Shenemar, how do we know that? Because the first of the Aseret Adibos of the Ten Commandments says, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha. I am Hashem. You got the first thing that God told over to the Jewish people when they came to Har Sinai was, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha. I am Hashem, your God. What does that mean? Believe in me. I am Hashem, your God. I'm telling you, I'm Hashem, your God. Which means, I'm telling you the first thing that you need to know is believe. Emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hariyev shel adam leido davar zeh. Vayidi azais pshuta ad shefilu nar. This is something that every person is able to know and able to understand to an extent. Even a young child, he writes 13, but I used to think when I was in yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, and I used to see these little 3-4-year-old kids running around talking about Hashem and talking about mitzvahs and about Torah. I thought to myself, this little 3-year-old kid, he knows more than the most highfalutin scientist or professor in any college or any graduate school that there is, because those guys are trying to figure out, is there a God? They're not really, as we're going to see, they're not really trying to figure out. They really don't want to find a God, because if you find God, then you have to live your life differently. We'll see that in Rav Weinberg. But this little kid, it's natural, because it's natural to believe in Hashem. It's natural to say, thank you Hashem. It's natural to make a bracha on Hashem. It's natural to learn. All these things are natural. Now, but that being said, even though that it's natural, and even though that the basic level is lahamin, to believe that there is a Ribbono Shel Olam, we have a contradiction in the words of the Rambam. Because when the Rambam is in one of his other svarim, which is called Hilchis Yesodei Torah, the laws of the Torah, of the foundations of the Torah, he doesn't use the word lahamin to believe that there is a God. He used the word leida sheyesham matzi rishain. You have to believe that there is an initial being in this world. I'm sorry, you must know that there is an initial being in this world. He doesn't say that you have a mitzvah to believe in Hashem. He says rather you have an obligation to know that there is an initial being that we call Hashem in this world. And the Mefarshim, the commentators, are bothered by this very open contradiction in the words of the Rambam. On one hand, the Rambam writes, you have a mitzvah ha'amin to believe in Hashem. On the other hand, he says you have a mitzvah leida to know Hashem. Now the Rambam didn't forget what he wrote in the Sefer Mitzvahs. What did I write there? Lahamin or leida? I'll put leida over here. He knew exactly what he's writing when the Rishonim, when these earlier commentaries, the Rambam, Rashi, the Ramban, when they write down their words, every word is like gold to them. And they write down only exactly what they need to write down, because in that word, there's worlds of information and wisdom for us to learn. So on one hand, the Rambam says, you have a mitzvah lahamin to believe in God. And the other thing he says, you have a mitzvah, or there's an obligation leida to know Hashem. What is the difference between Emunah, between the faith that a person is going to have in Hashem, and leida and knowing Hashem? So he brings over here a very famous line from Reb Chaim Yibrisk. And he says like this, and this is something that we have to keep in mind as we go through all these Yud Gimel Ikrim, these 13 principles of faith, because we're going to see how true these words are. And he says over the following idea: Shevadai mashe seichel ha'adam magiu masik. Whatever your seichel, whatever your mind, whatever your logical reasoning, whatever we said that gut reaction is able to understand about Hashem, ein ze emunah el yediyah. That's not called emunah. That is not called faith. That's called yediyah. That's called knowledge. Whatever your mind is able to grasp, when you look at your body and you see the fascinating creation of the human body, and that's reality, that's right there in front of your face, that's not called emunah. That's called yediyah, that's called knowledge, that's called understanding. When I look at the world and I begin to see how the hand of Hashem is orchestrating all of these events that are taking place in my life, even that itself is not so much emunah, faith in Hashem, that's yediyah, that's obvious. My whole story of how I got to the Siyum HaShas, within 5 hours of not going and then suddenly I'm going, the whole thing is miraculous. I'm telling you, I was 6 months, 7 years ago I was going to go. And 5 years ago I was going to go. And 3 years ago I was going to go. And a year ago I'm telling my wife, okay, I'm going to get tickets. I'm going to go with all the kids. I'm going to take everybody. I got to go. And then, you know what, as it's getting closer and closer, I said, forget it, to take all the kids out of school and all the plane tickets and all the tickets and the expense and everything. And the kids are going to not be able to travel with me. I'm going to go probably in 24 hours back and forth. It's too much. I'm not going to go. I'll go here in Los Angeles. Okay, then I find out that I have a chasana, I have a wedding on the same day as the Siyum HaShas in Los Angeles. So my wife, Eishes Chayil, she calls me on Tuesday and she says, I'm giving you a present. She said, me and Arilev, one of my sons, we decided that you're going to the Siyum HaShas. Arilev wants to go with you. You're going to the Siyum HaShas. Wow. So I said, I don't have tickets. No, we took care of the plane tickets. Don't worry, you have tickets. You just have to get a ticket to the Siyum HaShas. Okay, how we got plane tickets also, I'm not going to go into all the details. Whatever, everything worked out. I don't have a ticket to the Siyum HaShas. They closed the portal, as they say on the computer, which means you can no longer order tickets online. So I was told by someone big in the Aguda, the Agudas Yisrael is what ran the program, if you go to a website called the Lakewood Scoop, okay, they have a chat over there where people are selling tickets. It was supposed to be a very cold day yesterday. Not supposed to be, it was a very cold day yesterday in New York. There were little flurries, but Baruch Hashem didn't snow. And so people started selling off their tickets because they didn't want to be standing outside for 5 hours in the freezing. So I go to this chat, and every ticket sold. And that's now about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. We're supposed to fly out at 9 o'clock at night on Tuesday night. I don't have tickets to see Shas. I get a text from somebody, are you still looking for 2 tickets? I said yes. So he says, here's the tickets, and blah, 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 this is what they cost, everything. So I said, can we talk on the phone actually, so I can figure out if this is going to work? Anyway, he says, yeah, let me just make sure, for sure the tickets are available. Anyway, to make a long story short, this guy had the most unbelievable tickets available at an incredible price, right down on the field, 13 rows back from the dais, okay? Amazing. My son and I get there, that's one thing. So I find that we get these tickets. Now, I can't pay the guy, so this is the trust of the Jewish people. He says, are you sure you're going to take the tickets? I said, I'm going to take the tickets. I said, I'm coming. I have a flight in 2 hours. I'm coming. I need tickets. He says, how can I trust? I said, look, you can trust me. I'm coming with my son. I live here in Los Angeles. I want to be there. Okay, but what if somebody else calls? I said, don't give them the tickets. I'll take it. He says, can you pay me Chase, Quick Card, whatever it is? I said, I don't have it. I said, I'll pay you when I get there tomorrow. Okay, fine. He says, fine. You sound like an Ehrlicher person. I'll trust you. Okay. Now, what happens is I need the tickets to get into MetLife Stadium. I don't have the tickets when I land in Elizabeth, New Jersey yesterday in Newark. How am I going to get the tickets? So to go to Lakewood and pick up the tickets, that's a schlep and a half. I'm not interested in going to Lakewood. But how am I going to get the tickets to get inside the stadium? So lo and behold, because there's no coincidence in the world, one of my son's other friends was on the flight with us. And he is getting picked up from the area where we're landing by a cousin of his in Lakewood who's also going to see him. And I said, wow, do you think that your cousin, if I have these tickets dropped off at his house, would be able to bring them with me? So I don't see why not. Calls his cousin says, no problem. So I called the guy. I said, listen, and this was all happening late at night as we were on the plane. So in New York, we couldn't even orchestrate everything. So I didn't even know till I land in the next day. So he says, listen, I live in this area of Lakewood. If he doesn't live in the new area where I live, it's like an hour drive in the morning. It's going to be very hard for me to get him the tickets. I said, listen, well, Hashem runs the world. Let's see what happens. Turns out that this guy's cousin and the guy that had my tickets live about 5 minutes away from each other. Drops off the tickets in the morning. This guy comes, picks us up at the shul where we went. We went to davening, and then he drives us to the Siyum itself. And the person who sold me the tickets had 2 seats next to mine, so I was able to pay him over there in the MetLife Stadium. That's amazing. There are many, many other things, but the whole story, when you begin to realize how does everything work inside us, says Reb Chaim, that's not Emunah. That's Yediyah, that's obvious. That's obvious that at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you weren't going to the Siyum Shas, and 7 or 8 hours, whatever, 10 hours later, you're standing there on the floor of the entire MetLife Stadium, surrounded by 100,000 Jews, and everything the way it is. That's not Emunah. That's obvious that that's the Rebbeinu. It doesn't work any other way. So what does he write over here? Emunah hi b'makayim she'ein seichel ha'adam masik. Emunah, faith in Hashem, takes over in the place where your seichel, where your mind, where your perception, where your gut feeling no longer exists. When you no longer can know that it's the Rebbeinu Shalom, when you get to the point where it's hard for you to see that this is Hashem, then you need to come onto the level of Emunah, to the level of faith. Which means the following. I don't know if I'm saying this clear enough. It means the following. Everybody's Emunah, and that's why I'm saying tzaddik be'emunasai, a tzaddik in his Emunah, Yichya will live, because everybody's Emunah is going to be in a different place. When a person works on their Yediyah, developing the knowledge and the understanding and the perception of Hashem in their life, and they see it in the teachings, and they see it in the way the world runs, and they see the Nifla Sabari, the master of this creation, so your Yediyah, your knowledge is much greater. The greater that your knowledge is, the Rambam is saying, then you don't need even to come into the world of Emunah yet, because it's just obvious. But every person's going to have their limits in Yediyah, in what their knowledge is going to be. Once you hit the limit of what you're able to perceive on your own, and what you're able to know on your own, and what you're able to understand on your own, then you need to come into the world of Emunah, to the world of faith. So each person, that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't ask for blind faith. He doesn't ask that we should go along blindly in this world. Yeah, I believe in God, of course, He's the master. No, there's something called Yediyah. Yediyah is not blind. Yediyah is knowledge, is understanding, is seeing what is there. So therefore, my basic levels of my knowledge, but which really is my faith in Hashem, is tangible, as tangible as it could be. Once I get to a certain point, I'm not holding beyond that. Then Hashem says, now you have to come into Emunah. And everybody's Emunah is going to be different. Because for some people, they see HaKadosh Baruch Hu so clearly in their lives, and they see the mastery. Like if you read the writings of Rabbi Avigdor Miller Zatzal, it's clear he was living with the presence of Hashem everywhere that he walked. So how much of Emunah did he have to rely upon? Small amounts. Because the whole world for him was Yediyah, was knowledge, was understanding. Now, a person who lives like that, they are a Maimon, they are a true man or woman of faith, because they understand and they see HaKadosh Baruch Hu everywhere. But when you get into a place that's beyond your zone of Yediyah, of knowledge, now you're coming into the realm of Emunah. And therefore our Emunah and Yediyah, the faith and the knowledge that we have of Hashem, is something that if we're doing it in the right way, it's going to be moving through our lives, and we're going to be expanding our boundaries constantly. Which means that whatever my Yediyah, whatever my knowledge and my awareness of Hashem is today, hopefully tomorrow it expands. Which means that I'm now holding in a world of understanding and perception over here. So my Emunah just went up to a higher level. And the more that a person works on these things, so the more that you are living the Emunah Shalem, you're living with this complete faith, because it's so obvious. That's the Rambam is saying, we want to get to the point in our faith where it is so obvious that is Hashem. And the more obvious it is, the less you have to rely upon the abstract. The less you have to rely upon the parts of your human mind that can't grasp the profundities of Hashem and His creation. And therefore, Yediyah, knowledge, as the Rambam is saying over here, is something that is beyond value. And that's what he writes. Listen to this here, as Hashem is His atzmos, His essence, is above and beyond place and time. Hashem is not bound by place. We are, but Hashem is not. And there's no limit to what Hashem can accomplish and what He can do. So we can't understand that. Can you understand not being bound by space and time? Can you understand having unlimited abilities to do anything that you want whenever you want? You can't, because we're limited people. You want to accomplish, and you want to do, and you want to wake up early, and you want to go to bed on time, and you want to do this chesed. And then we know so many things get in our way. And so many things prevent us. And so many times we want to do this, we want to do that. If I would have done in my life everything that I wanted to do, it would be a different world. And that's how many people go through life. I was once with an aging uncle of mine, and we're sitting on his porch, and he's getting cloudy-eyed, and he's looking, and his whole life, so much of his life, filled with regrets of all the things that he never accomplished. Why? Because man is limited. Person can't do everything they want to do, whether they consciously are aware of that, whether it's against their will, whatever the reason is, we don't fulfill everything that we want because we have limitations. Hashem has no limitations. Can your mind grasp what that means? Says Rav Efshi, no, you can't really understand what that means. In those areas, you have to have Emunah. In this, the true essence of Hashem, which the human mind cannot grasp, on that you have to have Emunah based on what we learn in our Torah, based on what we learn in the Gemaras, in the Midrashim, based on what we see from the nature of history, based on what we do from examining our lives. In those realms, a person goes outside of the Yediyah, which is the comfort zone of what they know, and they come into a bigger world called Emunah, which is even though that I am limited, and even though that I am bound, and I am confined, so to speak, in the nature of this world, I believe be'emunah shleima that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is beyond all of that. Aval mitzius Hashem hi yediyah. But the nature or the existence, knowing the existence of Hashem, that he says is something called yediyah, that everybody could come to. This, that I look at the world and I see the natural creation and I look at my life and I examine this and examine that, and I look inside the Torah. The Torah is a sefer, is a book filled with yediyah, filled with knowledge of Hashem. You want to know Hashem? Learn Torah. The Torah itself teaches you how Hashem runs the world. He shows you his interaction from the very beginning of time. I once asked my Rebbe, why is it that you look in the beginning of the Chumash, from the very beginning, man sins. He sins and he gets banished from Gan Eden. Cain sins again and he kills his brother. What's going on over here? What kind of a Torah is this? So one of the reasons, first two things he said. One is, and this is what Weinberg Zatzal used to say, is that this is the biggest proof that the Torah is min hashemayim, is from Hashem. Because what other nation in the world would write their history book and show us filled with faults, filled with mistakes, filled with sinful behavior, filled with getting Hashem angry, and he comes and he chastises us and he kills people out. No other nation does that. You go to any other history book in the nations of the world, in the religions, all glory, glamour, great things that they did. We don't talk about the bad. But number two, he said, because the Torah is teaching us from the very earliest moments of creation, this world is not a free ride. Which means that Hashem is watching us, Hashem is judging us, Hashem is aware of our actions. That's yediyah. That is a knowledge that a person is gaining from the words of the Torah itself. L'chein kasav Rambam, and that's why the Rambam writes, Leida, you have to know about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because knowing about Hashem takes you into a place that is the level before we're going to reach into our Emunah. Now, I didn't answer completely, fully, this contradiction over here. The Rambam, in one place says you have to believe in Hashem, and the other place he writes that you have to know Hashem. So he wants to answer the following. There's a famous verse, we say it in Aleinu every day, you should know today, and you should return those words to your heart. Ki Hashem Elokim, Hashem is God. You should know, and you should put the words into your heart. The obligation that a person has is not just to know about the existence of Hashem. Rather, we have to take this knowledge of the mitzias, of the unique awareness that we have of the existence of Hashem, and we have to bring it into our hearts, bitzir chazak, in a very strong image and a very palpable understanding. Lichya is chaim shel ava v'yira im bari ha'olam, and in that way we will live together with the Ribbono Shel Olam. That will bring us to a life of bitachon, of trust in Hashem, like a child who relies upon his mother. That's what we're saying in the beginning. Every child knows you cry, mommy comes to you. Every child knows if you scratch your leg, you go into the house and you give those puppy dog eyes and you have the tears coming down and mommy will take care of you. Every child knows that. Every child knows, or they're supposed to know anyway, that's Yediyah, they're supposed to know that Tati, Abba, my father, he will take care of me. He'll take me places, he'll do things. They know that. And that's the way that a person is supposed to reach this levels of Emunah that we're going to have with Hashem. We believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that He's the creator of the world and He runs the world, and the world is existing because of Him, and I have no doubt about that. Which means it's not enough to have it up here. A person has to bring it down into their heart. And the deeper that it is inside their heart, that how he writes over here, the deeper that it goes inside the heart, and you live according to your knowledge, Nikra Maimon, you are now someone that is a believer in Hashem. You're not just someone who knows about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's a fine line the way that he is painting the picture over here, and that is there's yediyah, there's not. It's like a person. He takes a driving test, so he passes the test, and he learned all the rules and the regulations. But he has yediyah. He has the ability. He knows how to drive, but he doesn't really know how to drive because he never drove before. Until it becomes practical in his life, everything he learned on paper, it's just theory. It's just laws. It's just facts. Or like the doctor who goes to medical school, so many years in medical school, but he never was in the ICU. And then he goes for his first night in the ICU and he flips out. What's going on over here? People are dying all around me. What have you been doing for the last 8 years in school over there studying about how to save somebody if their heart is bleeding and if somebody's pancreas is falling out and if somebody can't breathe? What have you been doing? That's all yediyah. That's just all knowledge. That's all knowledge of facts. But awareness and real life is when you're in there. Says Rav Epstein over here, the real life of Emunah is when it's in your heart and you live your life according, not just because I know, but it's in me, it's who I am. I can define myself as a Maimon, as someone that believes, be'emunah shleim, in complete faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Then, and only then, does a person reach that level where they are living be'emunah, they are living with their emunah, with their faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, there's a lot to say. I see that we're going to be learning the Yud Gimel Ikrim for probably Yud Gimel years, 13 years maybe. Bez Hashem, Kadosh Baruch Hu should give us the kayach to be able to go through it, but it doesn't matter how fast or how slow we go through it. And what matters is that we acquire the gifts of Emunah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us, because when a person lives be'emunah, when they live with faith, so then their whole existence is a different existence. They could, the emission is, not that I have such great levels of Emunah, but in reality, I wasn't nervous that things were not going to work out for the Siyum Shas. Because I understood if my wife and my son feel so strong that we're supposed to go, then Hashem's going to just take care of everything. And when we got our tickets and we walked and we saw where we're sitting, we said, look, how could that be? How do we end up over here? Because it's not even a surprise. Then we thanked HaKadosh Baruch Hu because Hashem runs everything. And that's how a person lives with Emunah. They live a different world. Tzaddik be'emunah yichid, that's how you're alive. A person lives without emunah, they get stuck in the world of yediyah, of knowledge, and therefore, then they say, well, I can't understand everything, so therefore I can't take myself to the next level. It's a sad life. A life of a person who doesn't allow themselves to enter into the world of emunah, they just get locked in. Remember, that's what he's saying over here. We are mugbal, we are limited, we are confined. We can't do everything. Only Hashem can. And therefore, if we get stuck, he's going to say it more beautifully next time, if we get stuck in the limitations and the gedarim and the fences that are there, so then we'll never even allow ourselves the privilege of entering into the world of Emunah. Okay, we're starting to enter into the Olam HaEmunah, the world of Emunah, and Be'ez Hashem we shall continue next week.